Welcome to Mr. Foy's Easel. I've got a list of terms here that I want to introduce before I start drawing. All of these are adjectives, but one, the one at the bottom. In each one of these terms, I'm going to draw a cartoon character or two to show how to display that kind of feeling or attitude or whatever. So we start with the word exhausted. I'll write it again just so we don't forget. When somebody's exhausted, they're tired, of course, but a lot more than that. I mean, they are very, very tired, like this guy here. Notice his eyes and his tongue hanging out. And not only that, check out his body, how the guy's body goes right along with how he's feeling. And he's moving, but he's not running. He's just barely, as we sometimes say, he's just barely dragging. He may also be hot, but he's just moving along. He's exhausted, or as we sometimes say, just plumb worn out. Well, when I decided to do these drawings showing these different conditions and all, I thought, well, it might be good to do a cartoon animal in the same predicament or exhibiting the same feeling. So I'll just say his pet dog has been out overexerting himself too. Now, you and I know, and I've pointed this out many times, that it's often difficult to tell how an animal is feeling just by looking at them. But in cartoons, well, we cartoonists are going to make it as plain as we can. So compare the expression between the man and his dog. I think you'd have to agree that they both look pretty exhausted. Well, the next word on that list I showed you is the word furious. Now, furious means angry, but not just angry. I mean, very, very angry. So let's take a look at a couple of characters who are exhibiting fury. In other words, they're furious. The eyes and the mouth and the teeth. This lady is jumping up and down mad, as we might say. She is really furious. I'd hate to be the target of her anger. She's moving around, shaking her arms and fists, and probably hollering out at the target of her wrath. And, well, as I did in the first drawing, why don't we show a furious critter? Well, okay. Maybe this is her pet rooster, I don't know, but it's a rooster, and he's just about as angry as she is, and acting about the same way. Notice how, when you draw exaggerated actions or feelings or whatever, you really go out, you make the body as well as the face show how they're feeling. So there's a couple of very angry characters, not just miffed, not just a little bit put out, but really super angry. Now this next one's a little more difficult to portray, confused. So let's say that this first character I'm drawing is reading some instructions on how to put something together or how to repair something. Well, he's got the instructions out here, and well, as you probably know, sometimes instructions can be very confusing. At least that's the way it is with this guy. I started to say, well, if it were Christmas time, he might be trying to put together a Santa Claus toy or something. But anyway, whatever it is, maybe it's part of a roadmap. Just in case the expression and the body language don't convey confusion, we sometimes put question marks over the head. Well, that means if I'm following my pattern that I've set out, that I need to show a confused character over here. And so we have it. A cat. With the same problem as the fella. Cats don't read, but I expect that they can be confused on some things. So we've got a couple of confused characters, and with that in mind, why, let's take a break and we'll come back and look at some other examples of various attitudes.
Home security is now available through Conway Corp. It's an advanced solution backed by people you know and trust. Customize your system with motion detectors, sensors, light controls, and more, all managed from your wireless touchscreen or mobile phone. It's an easy way to protect the things that matter and the ones who matter most. It's safety for you, powered by Conway Corp.
Well, we're back, and the next adjective is suspicious. You know, like a detective trying to solve a crime, or somebody suspecting that somebody's up to something or whatever. Okay, the way I show suspicion is to make sure I get the eyes just right. Sometimes a person who is feeling suspicious might have his hand on his chin, kind of like that. Of course, this particular expression could also apply to somebody who's lost something and trying to remember where he left it. But let's say he's suspicious of something that's going on around him or next door or whatever. And now let's put a little critter showing the same suspicious attitude. Let's say he's a rat. And maybe he thinks another rat stole his cheese or something. Anyway, he's suspicious about something. He's thinking something about, I wonder if old so-and-so is the cheese thief. And the next term is bored. Bored. Let's begin with a lady who's sitting on a chair or on the couch, and there's a television out in front. She's got her hand up kind of on her, she's not talking on the phone, she's just kind of leaning back. You've heard the expression, there's nothing on TV. That may be what she's thinking. Anyway, whatever is on, it's sure not exciting her. She's not getting much pleasure or satisfaction from it. Notice the eyelids. When somebody is bored, their eyelids may be kind of like that. And here's a character, TV's over here, let's say. Let me just draw that just to give you an idea of where it is. And when cartoonists put little lines out like that in front of a TV, or it indicates noise of music or whatever. Well, who's the suspicious character? It's a duck. It's kind of leaning against her chair and got the same look on his face. So I guess if there's a lesson here, it's that sometimes television doesn't have anything on for man or woman or beast that's worth watching. Anyhow, that's I don't see the remote. I think they just threw it away. So there's boredom. Of course, there are other ways to depict boredom, but that'll do for now. Now, the last one is not an adjective, the last term that I showed you on that chart. It says, who cares, or it could be, so what? It sort of represents an attitude that is shown something like this. It's sort of kin to boredom, but it's not quite the same thing. Somebody just asked this fella a question or put some kind of a proposition to him. And this is what you call a kind of a shrug. He's saying, who cares, or so what, or don't ask me, or whatever. And he might have a buddy here with the same shrugging motion. Well, that's all for this episode of Mr. Foy's Easel. Remember to keep practicing on your cartooning expressions and attitudes and all of those things.